Welcome back. I'm Lynda Kinkade. Good to have you with us. Well, should there be a moratorium on artificial intelligence? That's what the so-called Godfather of AI is saying. Jeffrey Hinton just quit his job at Google to warn about the dangers of the technology which he helped develop. His decision to step down comes as alarm bells are sounding about the risks of AI-powered chatbots to spread misinformation and eliminate jobs. Hinton isn't the only one concerned. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak is also speaking out.
Look at how many bad people out there are just hitting us with spam and trying to get our passwords and take over our accounts and mess up our lives. And now AI is another more powerful tool. And it's going to be used by those people, for basically really evil purposes. And I hate to see technology being used that way. It shouldn't be. And probably some types of regulation are needed.
Wozniak and Hinton are the only two prominent figures speaking out about this technology. So what comes next? Joining me now is Martha Lane Fox, the president of the British Chambers of Commerce. Good to have you with us.
Hi.
So this is the man described as the godfather of AI. He's just left Google, and this is what he had to say. He said, right now, what we're seeing is things like the GPT-4 eclipsing a person in the amount of general knowledge it has. And it eclipses them by a long way. In terms of reasoning, it's not as good, but it does already do simple reasoning. And given the rate of progress, we expect things to get better quite fast. So we need to worry about it. Martha, are you worried about it? And if not, why not?
I am not someone that's prone to worrying in kind of without a practical application of what to do next. And I think the thing is now, with every major technology step forward, and I've been lucky enough to be quite close to a bunch of them, the advent of the internet, the nature of e-commerce taking over the web, suddenly the creation of social media, the iPhone, all of these have happened in my working lifetime. There's always a tension and anxiety about people who think this is going to solve all our problems and people who think this is going to create all our problems. And for me, the truth is somewhere in between. Of course, we should pay very close attention to the people, not me, who know how to code this stuff and have created it. But I don't think it's a zero-sum game. It's not binary. It's immensely nuanced. And we are undoubtedly at a period of technological change that is incredibly, incredibly speedy. And that's the thing that has taken my breath away over the last few months.
And I think that is the thing that most people are calling for a moment of pause, because it has emerged very quickly. We saw the AI-generated photograph that just won the Sony Photograph of the Year. We saw those AI-generated images of the Pope, of Donald Trump, these global figures, and then the AI-generated song, which went viral on Spotify. I just want to play a little bit of this song. I mean, we're at a point where it is hard to tell what is real, what is fake. These, of course, are relatively trivial examples compared to the real risk of AI being used by a power-hungry narcissist, which clearly there is no regulation right now when it comes to AI. Should there be?
There has to be regulation, absolutely 100%. It's inevitable that it will happen, in my opinion, and there are already a bunch of regulations being teed up. There's the EU AI Act. China, it's looking at its own regulation, and there are things happening in the US. Whether they will be the right kinds of regulation, I have no idea yet. And I think we have to not pause. That I personally believe is not the right way of framing this. This is a technology that's getting faster and faster and faster. GPT-3.5 was significantly less good than GPT-4, both of which you've just mentioned. We need to speed up our ambitions around this stuff. I think we need to educate regulators and legislators so that they know a bit more about how to potentially put your arms around it, around the emerging technologies with legislation. We need to keep making sure that we as users engage with this stuff so that we can see its power and its potential. And I think for me, a pause is misplaced. Inarguably, when things are going much, much faster, we've got to double down on our efforts. We've got to ask more of corporate leaders, more of our politicians, and make sure that we ourselves don't absent ourselves from the conversation.
Martha, I want to ask you more about that, because what you're just saying is almost the opposite of what we heard from the 1,000 plus people in the AI tech world who wrote this open letter in March calling for a pause. People like Elon Musk were on this letter that said, we need a pause because the advances we're seeing in things like AI chatbot, ChatGPT, there needs to be some sort of safety measures in place before we go any further. Why shouldn't we listen to those in the industry?
We should absolutely listen to people in the industry, but I think we should also, we can apply our own judgments to some of these things. Elon, in one hand, was saying pause, and then on the other hand was investing heavily in AI technology, and we've learned that subsequently. So keep putting things in context is always important, clearly. But the second thing I'd say is I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that we shouldn't educate ourselves more, hold companies to account, and absolutely develop regulation. But I'm saying that a pause, in my opinion, doesn't feel like the right tool to create those bits of change, because we're going to be in competition with other countries in the world that are not going to pause. China's certainly not pausing its AI technology capability. And it feels to me as though pausing is the wrong way of framing what I think most people would agree on, which is we need to think very carefully about how we want this technology to impact our lives over the next decade.
And also, there's the big question over jobs, right? The Goldman Sachs report claimed that 300 million full-time jobs will be replaced as AI develops. How much investment do you want to see in this particular industry, in this particular tech world right now, to, I guess, perhaps counter that?
I'm not sure we can counter the substantial shift in the pattern of work that is going to occur over the next decade to 2 decades. I think the most important thing is to think about how we equip people to be able to cope with what is not going to, in any way, shape, or form, not just AI, but everything that's happening in technological landscape is speeding up, not slowing down. So, in my opinion, every company, every employer, whether you're a public, private, or charitable organization, you need to be thinking about how your organization is going to be fit for purpose, how you're going to keep training people, and imagining doing some kind of exercises to think about what does your organization look like in 10 years' time. Of course, that will require some investments, but I think we also have to get realistic about the changing nature of work and how quickly that's going to come upon us.
And it is certainly happening very quickly. Martha Lane-Fox, President of the British Chambers of Commerce, good to have you with us. Thanks so much for your perspective.
Thank you.
Well, still to come tonight, a story Hollywood never wanted to tell. Talks between studios and union representatives breaking down, meaning the production of virtually all scripted shows and films will be paused. We are by the picket line with more when we come back.